Oklahoma has canceled its spring game. Let's talk about what that means for Oklahoma and why this was always going to happen. What's up, kinfolk? It's RJ Young. I am not on a step mill. If this is your first time watching the #1 college football show, welcome. Thank you for joining us here. We talk college football year round. And if you like what you're watching, hit that subscribe button, like this video, and answer the question below. Do you think that spring football games are dead? Because I think they mostly are, right? I really do. Oklahoma has joined a handful of blue blood programs, name brand programs, if you prefer, who have decided that they're not going to play a traditional spring game. In some instances, they're not going to do anything at all, right? They're going to go through their normal practices, but they're not going to draw so much attention to the spring game as they have in the past. Remember, in the past, spring game has even been a ticketed event at some places, especially if you expect to have a bigger crowd for perhaps a new transfer at quarterback or a five-star quarterback, or first glimpses of freshmen in pads running routes and or playing defense in a glorified scrimmage. We always overanalyze spring games. It is an annual tradition, and we love to do it because there's not much else to talk about as it relates to football until August, well, really July, when we start doing media days. And because we love to talk college football year-round at all times, we're going to feast on any morsel that we can get, right? Now, that feasting comes with a penalty for some of the teams in the age of name, image, and likeness. So what has happened is you will see spring games on television, and players might pop on television, have great games, or just have great games that people write about, and they enter the transfer portal in the following window because they're probably going to get paid more if they just decide to transfer to another program. Never mind what the contracts say or don't say. In one instance, Matt Rule at Nebraska has said, nah, dude, I'm trying to do everything I can to maximize my floor. That means that I'm not going to schedule games like Tennessee in non-conference anymore when I got to play 9 Big Ten games. It also means that I'm not going to showcase the new talent that I procured in the winter transfer portal and in this high school recruiting class that somebody else might want to poach because they saw a great player on the Big Ten Network, on Fox, ESPN, ESPN10, what have you, right? To say nothing of the local broadcast and what they might be doing with these particular games, because one of the things that makes local news go is on the ground, someone with a camera being able to record a catch or get an interview, so forth, so on. This is how news works. Now you're seeing more programs that are A, trying to protect their players from being poached, and B, trying to protect their players from injury. You're going to see injury prevention become an even bigger deal. I think strength and conditioning coaches are due for a very big bump if they can continue to show that they can make them big, fast, and strong and keep them injury-free. It's always been the first order of business for any strength and conditioning program. Do not hurt players, period. You want to protect them when they eventually do get hurt, and you need to rehab them correctly and accurately so they can get back on the football field. And this has consequences. Like strength conditioning coach at Texas got 2 raises in 1 year because of what Texas has been able to accomplish over the last 2 years, mostly because they've been healthy. And when they have been injured, he's been able to get them back on the field in the case of guys like Quinn Ewers. Whereas at Oklahoma, you had a different sort of epidemic. Offensive linemen were hurt. Wide receivers were hurt. Defensive players were hurt. And all of a sudden, I'm asking real questions about what Jerry Schmidt's program was going into this SEC season, and that needs to get corrected because you can't win any football games if your best players aren't available to play, right? If you can get somebody hurt during the spring football period, it's worth it for you to punt on the entire thing rather than get them hurt at a time when nobody cares whether or not they produce. Nobody. So why does Oklahoma cancel the spring game? In part due to those things. The other part of this, I think, is they're not necessarily canceling the fan event that is a spring game. As a matter of fact, they're going to make it a different sort of event. The way that Joe Constiglione put this in his quote was, hey, this is a new kind of tradition where we get our fans involved in what we're doing. We're going to have something like a Crimson Combine where even fans and players are able to interact with each other. They're going to have autograph sessions. They're going to turn it into basically a fan appreciation day. I don't think that's a bad thing. I think the more family-oriented events you can create around your football program, the more you're going to engender yourself with those families, and you're going to raise new fans of the program. All of you have a story about a player that you met when you were a child that changed your life. You just do. And some of those stories are not so good, right? I think this is an opportunity to create really cool core memories. I'll give you an example. I played a lot of baseball growing up, more baseball than football. I was a catcher. Loved playing baseball, right? Ended up playing Dixie Youth at Hattiesburg and then R.L. Turner in Panama City before moving up to Oklahoma where, well, baseball is just a different animal. But at the time, I'm 9 years old. My parents take me to see the Los Angeles Dodgers play the Houston Astros. It's where I became really a Dodgers fan and had an affinity for the Astros because I got to go to my first Major League Baseball game. And I remember my parents taking me back where the Dodgers were getting on the bus after the game ended. And I had baseball, and I really wanted Hideo Nomo and Mike Piazza to sign the ball. Both the guys passed me, didn't glance that way. It affected me. I was really hurt. I took it personally, right? Then I didn't much care what the Dodgers did for the next 20 years. Not really. Meanwhile, there are player after player after player in this sport, our sport, that go out of their way to be kind to you. If you write them, they probably write back. If you get a hold of them, they probably are able to say something kind to you or take a photo with you, and that becomes a core memory. And then you got that dude's jersey, and you follow him for the rest of his career, no matter what he does, and that's your guy, right? We all got those. And when you have an opportunity to do that as an OU football player, I believe that's one of the coolest things in the world. Every now and again when I'm out and about, people come up to me and they say, "Hi, RJ, I like the show," or "I watch the show." And I try to be kind. I try to learn a name because you are a human being on the other side of this. And I don't take you for granted. I think this is what OU football is doing well, okay? They're not going to take fans for granted. Do they need to add to the war chest of this name, image, and likeness collective? Yes, they absolutely do. But they also need to continue to foster this culture that is been around for more than 100 years. We are of the Sooner State. We do love that team, and we need that team to love us back. That's what it is. I think if you got an opportunity to go to the event, that you should. I think that if you want to think about bygone times of spring football, I'm going to remind you, wasn't that long ago that we used to have former players playing the current players in a real game, like Billy Sims and them in pads, knocking heads with college kids. That wasn't that long ago. We decided to get rid of that one too, right? Traditions change. That's what happens with them. They change. Things change. What doesn't change is the name on the front. What doesn't change is the name on the back. What doesn't change is what that program will mean to you. In Oklahoma, the saying is, sooner born, sooner bred, and when I die, I'll be sooner dead. It's family. That's what that means. It's blood. There is nothing more important than your family. And when you get an opportunity to reinforce that as a program that is that's breath of life is the people on the ground in this place people call a flyover state that nobody wanted to be, that was the 46th state, and everybody decided this was the American desert, and we decided, yeah, we can kick, the Jodes can leave because they're cowards. They can go to California. That's what they can do. Us, this is our home. And we love each other. We support each other. And if it means that the program is going to be better, most people are going to be in for that. Now, that said, Brent Venables needs to win in 2025, and he's doing all the right things. Hiring Jim Nagy, making himself the defensive coordinator, hired a new young offensive coordinator, got himself a good transfer quarterback that reminds people of Baker Mayfield, and winning Big 12 championships, winning conference championships, playing in the college football playoff. If this gets them closer to that, all for it, and I think you should be too.